Very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back. I hope you guys have revised what I have discussed in the previous session relating to marginal costing. So, let me give you a brief about what all I have discussed in the previous session. Let's quickly summarize what I have discussed. So, in the last session, we started with marginal costing. When talking about marginal costing, it's a management tool of decision making. It has nothing to do with cost calculation. Thereafter, we discussed marginal cost, that is the cost of producing additional unit. Further, we discussed variable cost, that is the cost that varies according to production. Further, we discussed fixed cost, that is the cost that remain fixed irrespective of production. Thereafter, we started with PV ratio, that is profit volume ratio. When talking about profit volume ratio, it says what is the percentage of contribution to sales. Further, if the question is silent, PV ratio will remain constant at all the level of sales. However, if the question clearly states that there is a change in selling price per unit or variable cost per unit, then only the PV ratio will change. Thereafter, we discussed break-even sales. Break-even sales is that level of sales where there is no profit, no loss, or we can say sales is equals to total cost. When talking about the formulas, we discussed that if you want to calculate it in rupees, it is fixed cost divided by PV ratio. And if you want to calculate it in units, it is fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Further, we discussed desired sales also, wherein we discussed the concept how to calculate desired sales. When talking about the formulas that are given, if you want to calculate it in rupees, it is fixed cost plus desired profit divided by PV ratio. If you want to calculate it in units, it is fixed cost plus desired profit divided by contribution per unit. Thereafter, we discussed margin of safety. When talking about margin of safety, it says how much we are safe from the break-even sales. So when talking about the formula, it is actual sales minus break-even sales, or we can say further, there is one more concept wherein the formula is profit divided by PV ratio. So these are the two ways to calculate margin of safety. Apart from this, we discussed one more formula wherein if the two period figures are given, I've discussed the concept also wherein if the two period figures are given, we can calculate PV ratio by using this change in profit divided by change in sales into 100. So I hope you guys were able to solve the questions. Still, if you have any doubts relating to the basic concepts, you guys can please post your queries. Else, we'll start with the next part of the chapter wherein we'll be discussing few questions and then we'll move towards the decision-making problems. So waiting for your queries. If you guys have any queries, you guys can please post your queries. Good morning, Preeti. Good morning, Sushil. So in this session, I'll be discussing few questions of study material. So I request you guys to please open your study material. I'll be discussing few questions from study material. I'll be starting with illustration number 4 from the study material. So I request you guys to please download the material from the portal, or else you can take out the hard copy. It's page number 14.19. So I request you guys to please open your study material, page number 14.19, illustration number 4. Good morning, Mr. Mohammed. So let's start with illustration number 4, wherein PQR Limited has furnished the following data for 2 years, wherein the sales is given for 21-22, that is 8 lakh, PV ratio is given, margin of safety is given. Further, the sales figure for 22-23 is missing. The PV ratio and margin of safety is given. There has been a substantial saving in the fixed cost in the year 22-23. So herein, very important part, that there is a change in fixed cost in 22-23. It is given that there has been a substantial saving in the fixed cost in the year 22-23 due to restructuring process. Further, it is given that the company could maintain its sales quantity. So it means there is no change in sales quantity. The company could maintain its sales quantity level of 21-22 in 22-23 by reducing its selling price. So it means the question is saying that first point. So when talking about the key points in the question, the first point is there is a change in fixed cost. Second point, no change in sales quantity. Third point, change in selling price. These are the 3 key points of this question. First, there is a change in fixed cost in the subsequent year. Second, there is no change in sales quantity in the subsequent year. Further, there is a change in selling price. So let's start. Now, what the question is asking, you are required to calculate the fixed cost. You are required to calculate the sales for 22-23, fixed cost for 22-23, and break-even sales for 22-23 in value. So let's start. So before starting with 22-23, we'll first prepare the master table for 21 and 22. So let's start with 21-22. Here in the sales is given, that is 8 lakh rupees. Variable cost will be 50% since the PV ratio is 50%. So this will be 4 lakh. Therefore, my contribution will also be 4 lakh. Now here it is given that margin of safety sales is 40% of the total sales. So here in margin of safety, we can calculate directly. That is 8 lakh into 40%. That is 3,20,000. 3,20,000. Further, since the PV ratio is given, that is 50%. Since the PV ratio is given, that is 50%, we can easily calculate profit also. So profit will be margin of safety, that is multiplied by PV ratio. Since profit divided by PV ratio is margin of safety, so if we multiply PV ratio with margin of safety, we will get the profit. So 3,20,000 into 50%. So this will be 1,60,000. So my profit will be 1,60,000 and my fixed cost will be 2,40,000. So this data is available for 21-22. Now we are required to first calculate the sales for 22-23. Now, for 22-23. Now, the key point is here in the sales, there is no change in sales quantity. Sales quantity में कुछ भी change नहीं हुआ है. There is change in sales. Why? Because of change in selling price. So herein, very important point, since there is no change in sales quantity, so the variable cost will remain unchanged because the question is silent about the increase or decrease in variable cost. Therefore, the variable cost will be same for 2021, 21-22 and 22-23. There is a change in sales. Why? Because of change in selling price. But since the quantity is constant, very important, since the quantity is constant, further the question is silent that there is a change in variable cost per unit or not. So we will assume that it is constant. So the point is the variable cost for 22-23 will be same. ₹4 lakh. Since PV ratio is given in the question, that is 37.5. Therefore, so sales will be 4 lakh divided by 62.5%. Very important point, guys. This part is the key of this question, wherein since there is no change in sales quantity, there is a change in selling price. Therefore, the variable cost will be constant for 21-22 and 22-23. Since the PV ratio is 37.5% of the sales, therefore the variable cost will be 62.5% of the sales. So my sales will be 6,40,000. Now herein we have calculated the sales. Now we can prepare the master chart, that is 22-23, wherein my sales is 6,40,000. Wherein my sales is 6,40,000. My variable cost will be 62.5%, that is 4 lakh. My contribution will be 2,40,000. Now fixed cost, if we subtract, we will get profit. So we have got the sales. So now we can easily calculate the margin of safety sales. It is 21.875. So in the similar way, that is margin of safety sales will be $6,40,000 into 21.875. So this will be 1,40,000. Now we can calculate the fixed cost after calculating the profit, or alternatively, we can calculate the break-even sales. And if we multiply it by PV ratio, we will get the fixed cost. So both the approaches are correct. So my break-even sales will be, see in this, I have calculated the profit first and fixed cost was my balancing figure. So herein we can first calculate the break-even sales, that is 6,40,000 minus 1,40,000. So this will be 5 lakh. Now we can calculate the fixed cost, that is break-even sales into PV ratio. As I discussed, fixed cost divided by PV ratio in break-even sales. So my fixed cost will be 5 lakh into my PV ratio, that is 37.5%. 187,500. So my profit will be 52,500. If you guys have any doubts or queries relating to this question, you guys can please post your query. Further, I request you guys to copy the solution. The presentation is the key. Very good morning, Sujay. Very good morning, Kiran. Very good morning, Sahu. Very good morning, sweetie. I think last time you requested for this illustration and I've already discussed, Preeti. Anyways, let me check once again. So, Preeti, I'm discussing illustration number 3. I request you guys to please refer illustration number 3. The page number is 14.17. Now, a company has a PV ratio of 40%. A company has a PV ratio. I'm discussing illustration number 3, my friends. So a company has a PV ratio of 40%. Compute by what percentage must the sales be increased to offset 20% reduction in selling price. So now it's a very small question, a simple mathematics, that currently the company is operating at 40% PV ratio. That if the sales is 100, the variable cost will be 60 and my contribution will be 40. Now, if in case the selling price is reduced by 20%, if in case the selling price is reduced by 20%, so हम लोग कितना सेल्स करें, कितना परसेंट सेल्स क्वांटिटी बढ़ाए, so that we can get the same amount of profit. That is what the question is asking. I repeat again, guys. Currently, we are working at a PV ratio of 40%. Now the question is saying that if the selling price is reduced by 20%, how much quantity we need to sell more to get the same amount of profit. So, illustration number 3. Currently, if my sales is 100, my variable cost will be what? 60, and my contribution will be 40. This is my current scenario. Now, if in case my selling price is reduced by 20%, if my new selling price, this is not sales, it is selling price, we can call it as sales also, that's okay. Now let's say if the selling price or sales is, if the selling price is reduced by 20%, it means what? My sales will be reduced by 20%. So my revised sales will be what? 80. My variable cost will be same because again there is no change in sales quantity. So my new contribution will be 20 only. Whereas I want to earn 40. So my new PV ratio will be how much? 20 divided by 80 into 100. That is 25%. It means we will be getting a contribution of 25% on sales. So if we desire to earn the same amount of profit, how much sales will be required? 160. So in short, आपको sales 100 से 160 करना पड़ेगा if the selling price is reduced by 20%. So it means how much increase in sales is required? From 100 to 160, that is 60% increase in sales is required. So if the selling price is reduced by 20% to offset this reduction or to compensate this reduction, we have to increase the sales quantity by 60% to earn the same amount of profit. Hopefully, Preeti, your query is resolved. Still, if you have any doubts, you can please post your query. Mr. Sushil, sir, in illustration number 4, in 22-23, variable costs remain unchanged, that is 4 lakh. How? So, see, Sushil, it's a very simple thing wherein the first point is that the question has clearly mentioned that there is no change in sales quantity. Suppose पहले अगर हम लोग 10,000 units sell करते थे तो अभी भी 10,000 units sell करें. Now, herein the sales is increasing or decreasing. Let me check with illustration number 4 once again. So herein there is a change in sales, but it is not due to change in quantity, but due to change in price. So by very simple 21-22 का quantity और 22-23 का quantity same है. The further the question is silent about that is there any increase or decrease in variable cost per unit. So what we will assume that it is same. Anyone else having any doubts in this part? Yes, Sushil, hopefully your query is resolved. Now, key factor or limiting factor. So let's discuss this concept with the help of an example. Let's say I'm the manufacturer of three types of product: product A, product B, and product C. I do manufacture three types of product, that is product A, product B, and product C. One second. क्या हो गया sir? I'm offline now. One second. Sorry for this technical break. So now let's start. So the key factor or limiting factor. Now let's say we are manufacturing three types of product: product A, product B, and product C. And when talking about the selling price, the selling price of these products are 100, 100, and 100. Further, the variable cost is also given, that is 60, 70, and 80. Therefore, my contribution will be how much? 40, 30, and 20. Now, this is the situation wherein we are manufacturing three types of product A, B, and C. The variable cost is available and the contribution is available. Now, can you guys tell me what will you advise? Which product to manufacture and sell? Can you guys advise me which product should be manufactured and sold? Waiting for your answers, guys. Which product is more profitable? Which product is more profitable? Okay, I've got answer from Preeti, from Kiran. So herein, when talking about this scenario, it is profitable to manufacture and sell product A because we are getting the highest amount of contribution, and further the contribution, the PV ratio is highest. Now let's take a situation My annual requirement of raw material is, let's say, 1,50,000 kgs. My annual requirement of raw material is 1,50,000 kgs. Now, let's say due to some strike or due to some, due to some strike, my supplier is not being able to provide me my desired quantity of raw material. Due to strike, or we can say lockdown or shutdown, whatever it is, my supplier is not being able to provide me my requirement. I mean, he is not being able to provide me my requirement, that is of 1,50,000 kgs. However, I requested him and he said that, okay, max to max raw material I can provide is 60,000 kgs. Even though I have a requirement of 1,50,000 kgs, but he is ready to supply only 60,000 kgs of raw material. Sorry. So he is able to supply only 60,000 kgs of raw material. Even though my requirement is 1,50,000, but he is able to provide me only 60,000 kgs of raw material. So herein, there is some scarcity of resources. कुछ resources ऐसे हैं, that is the raw material is available in very limited quantity. So my motto will be what? To utilize this each and every kg of raw material in such a way so that I can get the maximum out of it. So herein, the raw material is available in very limited quantity. So this raw material in this question is what? The key factor or limiting factor. So in short, what is key factor or limiting factor? जो भी रिसोर्सेज हमारे पास बहुत लिमिटेड सप्लाई में अवेलेबल है या लिमिटेड क्वांटिटी में अवेलेबल है, बीट लेबर आवर्स और बीट मशीन आवर्स और बीट रॉ मटेरियल, जो हमारे पास बहुत स्कैरसिटी में अवेलेबल है, so that resource is what we call as the key factor in this, in a particular situation. So here in this question, this raw material is what? My key factor. क्योंकि रॉ मटेरियल हमारे पास बहुत कम क्वांटिटी में अवेलेबल है, so this raw material is what? My key factor. So my motto will be what? To utilize 60,000 kgs in such a way so that I can get the maximum profit. Now, let's say additional information is given in the question. Raw material required per unit. Raw material required per unit is given, that is 10 kgs to manufacture product A, 5 kg to manufacture product B, and 4 kgs to manufacture product C. I repeat again, guys, additional information is given in the question, that is to manufacture product A, we need 10 kgs, to manufacture product B, we need 5 kgs, and to manufacture product C, we need 4 kgs. Now, can you guys tell me that which product we should manufacture so that we can get the maximum profit? Waiting for your answers, guys. Can you guys advise me which product we should manufacture and sell so that we can get the maximum profit? All your answers were correct, Sweetie, Unnikrishnan, Sushil Kumar, Sujay. Now, please answer which product we should manufacture and sell so that we can get the maximum profit, keeping in mind that we have only 60,000 kgs of raw material available with us. Okay, so I've got an answer. Okay, these were the answers to the previous question. Now, about this question, I'm waiting for your answers, guys. Which product, keeping in mind the situation wherein the raw material is available in very limited quantity, so please advise that which product we should manufacture and sell so that we can get the maximum profit. Yes, Mr. Sayanto, Mallu Jadar, Preeti, Kiran Bala, waiting for your answers. So I've got answer from Sushil and Sujay and Sweetie. Okay, Sujay and Sweetie, sorry, and Sushil also. So I think you need to recheck your answer, Sujay. Your answer is incorrect, Sujay. Sweetie, your answer is correct. Sushil, your answer is incorrect. I think earlier you posted incorrect answer, Sweetie. But now it is correct. Can you please write the explanation also that why this answer, Sweetie? The rest everyone incorrect answer. Sayanto, can you please write the explanation also that why you have selected this product? Yes, Preeti, waiting for your answer. Kiran Bala, waiting for your answer. Preeti, write your explanation along with the final answer. Sushil, your answer is incorrect. Mr. Unni Krishnan, waiting for your answer. Further, Mr. Sayanto and Kiran, do write your explanation along with your answer. Yes, Mr. Mohammed, waiting for your answer. Mr. Sahu, SK. Miss Sentha, waiting for your answers. Anil Kumar, your answer is incorrect. Now see, since this raw material is available in a very limited quantity, so here raw material is my key factor. So my entire decision will be based on this raw material. Now major object will be, since raw material is the key factor, my major object will be to utilize this raw material in such a way, so that we can get the maximum profit. So herein, when talking about product A, we are using 10 kgs and we are getting a contribution of 40 rupees. It means for every kg, how much contribution, how much profit I am earning? 4 rupees. I repeat again, we are getting a contribution of 40 rupees per unit after using 10 kgs. So for every kgs, I am getting a contribution of rupees 4. Similarly, for product B again, my contribution is 30 after using 5 kgs of raw material. So herein, for every kg, we are earning rupees 6. And in the third case, after using 4 kg, we are getting a profit of 20. So it means for every 1 kg, we are getting a profit of rupees 5. So we call it as contribution per kg of raw material. Contribution per kg of raw material. So herein, since the contribution per kg of raw material is highest in case of B, so it is advisable to manufacture product B. Further, after meeting the demand of product B, we should manufacture product C. And if any raw material is left out after manufacturing B and C, we will manufacture A. So the first priority should be given to product B, then to product C, and then to product A. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. When talking about key factor, what is key factor? वो रिसोर्स जो हमारे पास बहुत लिमिटेड अवेलेबल है, that is known as the key factor. Since here in this case, my raw material is my key factor, so the entire decision will be based on raw material. That is how much we are earning after utilizing every kg of raw material. So here we have calculated this part, contribution per kg of raw material. This part is the key. So my entire decision will be based on contribution per kg of raw material. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries, guys. So Mr. Unikrishnan, Anil, Sushil Kumar Barik, I hope, and Sujay Manna, hopefully, now you are thorough with this concept that which product we should manufacture. So the point is, if all the products have unlimited demand, then it is advisable to manufacture product B. If all these products have unlimited demand, if the all products have unlimited demand, it is advisable to manufacture product B. But let's take a situation wherein the maximum demand is given. Let's take a situation wherein the maximum demand is given, that is 5,000 units, 5,000 units, and 5,000 units. That is max to max units that can be sold in the market is 5,000 units only. Now the question is how to utilize this raw material of 60,000 kgs. So my raw material available is how much? Now, since we are getting the highest amount of profit by after manufacturing product B, so first product B will be manufactured. That is, the entire 5,000 units can be manufactured because 5,000 into 5, 25,000 kgs of raw material is required, and we have 60,000 kgs of raw material in stock. So 5,000 units of product B will be manufactured after utilizing 5 kgs for every product. So this is 25,000. So out of 60,000 kgs, 25,000 kgs are gone. So we are left out with now 35,000 kgs. Thereafter, we will manufacture product C because it's on the second priority list. Further, the raw material required to manufacture product C, full 5,000 units is 5,000 into 4, 20,000, and still we have 35,000 kgs of raw material available. So thereafter, we will manufacture product C. So after manufacturing product C also, we are left out with 15,000 kgs of raw material. So this raw material will be utilized to manufacture product A. Now to manufacture product A, full 5,000 units, we need 50,000 kgs. And we don't have 50,000 kgs, but we have only 15,000 kgs. So only 1,500 units, only 1,500 units of product A can be manufactured. So 1,500 into 10, that is 15,000. So this is how this raw material of 60,000 kgs will be utilized, wherein we'll manufacture full 5,000 units of product B, thereafter full 5,000 of product C, and only 1,500 units can be manufactured of product A because we have only 60,000 kgs. So in short, we can now calculate the contribution also of product A, product B, and C. So product A 1,500 units were manufactured, product B 5,000, and product C 5,000. Into my contribution per unit is 40 in case of A, 30 in case of B, and 20 in case of C. So my total contribution three lakh 10,000. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Yes, Kiran Bala, any doubts? This is the maximum demand that is given in the question. All this information is given in the question. Now let's take one more question. Let's say this much information is given in question number 1. Now additional information is also given wherein minimum demand is also given. Minimum demand is also given, that is at least you have to manufacture 1800 units of every product. At least you have to manufacture 1800 units of every product, or let's keep it 2000 only. At least you have to manufacture 2000 units of every product. मतलब आपको इतने units तो हर product के manufacture करने ही पड़ेंगे. So now the point is how to approach with the solution. So I'll be starting with the solution, but in the first part, if you guys have any doubts wherein only maximum demand is given, then you guys can please post your query. It is given in the question, Preeti. So now let's proceed to the second part wherein maximum demand is also given and minimum demand is also given. Now the point is how to start with writing the solution. So now see the raw material available is 60,000 kgs. So what we will do is we'll first fulfill the minimum demand. That is A, B, and C. It is 2000, 2000, and 2000. So we have to manufacture these products 2000, 2000, and 2000 for all three. That is A, B, and C. To manufacture A, we require 10 kgs. To manufacture B, we require 5 kgs. To manufacture C, we require 4 kgs. So to fulfill the minimum demand, total 30,000 kgs will be used. That is 20,000 plus 10,000 plus 8,000. 38,000 kgs will be used. So after fulfilling the minimum demand, we are still left out with 22,000 kgs. So after fulfilling the minimum demand, we are still left out with 22,000 kgs. So from this 22,000 kgs, we will first manufacture product A. That is the balance quantity of product A. The balance quantity of product A, that is out of 5,000, 2,000 is already done. So we are left out with 3,000. So 3000 into 5, that is 15,000. So still we are left out with 7,000 kgs. Now see, herein, when talking about product C, out of 5,000 units, 2,000 units are already manufactured. So still we have to manufacture 3,000 units. But to manufacture 3,000 units, we need 12,000 kgs. That is 3,000 into 4, 12,000 kgs. And we don't have 12,000 kgs in stock. How much quantity we have? We have only 7,000 kgs. So how many units of product C can be manufactured? Very simple. We have 7,000 kgs in our hand. And every unit require 4 kgs. So at the most, we can manufacture how many units? 1750 units only of product C. Sorry. So at the most, we can manufacture 1750 units of product C. So now we are done with the usage of raw material. So now we can calculate the contribution also. So product A, 2000 units were manufactured, B, 5000, and for C, 2000 plus 1750, that is 3750 units. Into the contribution per unit, that is 40, 30, and 20. Three lakh 5,000. So the first question was when only maximum demand is given, and in second question, both maximum and minimum demand is given. So those who have any doubts or queries can please post your queries. Yes, Sujay. Further giving you 5 to 7 minutes time to copy this explanation. In the meanwhile, in coming 5 to 7 minutes, those who have queries can please post your queries. Waiting for your queries. Further giving you time. Further giving you 5 minutes time to copy this explanation. You can write your notes in your notebook that what all you have understood from this concept. So giving you 5 minutes, please copy and write your own, try to make your own notes what you have understood from this concept. This is very important. Examiner do ask question frequently on key factor. So take your time, do post whatever the queries you have, and in the meanwhile, those who are thorough with the concept can copy the part. See, Sushil, when talking about the minimum demand, see, we have fulfilled the minimum demand of 2000 for product A, B, and C. So after fulfilling the minimum demand, we are left out with 22,000 kgs. So the point is, we will first manufacture product B, that is full 3000 units. Thereafter, we are left out with 7000 kgs. So of these 7000 kgs, every unit of product C require 4 kgs. So total 1750 units can only be manufactured. Now, very important point. So in total for A, product A, 2000 units were manufactured. For product B, 2000 plus 3000, 5000 units were manufactured. And for product C, 2000 plus 1750, 3750 units were manufactured. And the contribution per unit is 40, 30, and 20. So if we calculate the total, I think it will be 3,05,000. Mr. Sujay, when talking about the answer of this question, see, at the end of the day, we have to select the option which gives the maximum profit. So you have to try various combination. Such types of questions are not there in the material, but if I'll check if any questions are available, I'll try to take these questions in the doubt session. Anyone else having any doubts or queries? Kiran Bala, Preeti, Sayanto, Mallu. So herein, the very important point is that since my raw material was the key factor or limiting factor, so my entire decision was based on contribution per kg of raw material. I repeat again, here in this question, since herein in this question, my raw material was my key factor, so entire decision was based on contribution per kg of raw material. If there are any questions, Sujay, I'll try to cover it. Don't worry, Sujay. So I repeat again, guys. Here in this question, my raw material was available in very limited quantity, so it was the key factor. So my entire decision was based on contribution per kg of raw material to decide which product should be manufactured in priority. So accordingly, we got this priority order first, second, and third. But let's take a situation wherein if the labor hours are my key factor. See, if the labor are in limited supply. Now, very important point. Instead of this, we will calculate contribution per labor hour. Instead of this, instead of contribution per kg of raw material, my decision will be based on contribution per labor hour. Further, let's say if my machine hours are in limited availability, then my entire decision will be based on contribution per machine hour. So let's summarize what I have discussed. Let me write also the part what I have discussed. So herein, if my raw material is my key factor, then my decision will be based on contribution if labor hours are my key factor, then contribution per labor hour. If machine hour is my key factor, contribution per machine hour. Let's say if sales value is my key factor, that is, let's say in question that आप 1 crore से ज्यादा सेल्स नहीं कर सकते या 50 लाख से ज्यादा सेल्स नहीं कर सकते. So this is the maximum sales amount. So if sales value is the key factor, my decision will be based on PV ratio. The product with the highest PV ratio will be selected. The product with the highest PV ratio will be selected. Further, if the sales quantity is my key factor, that is, I can't manufacture and sell more than X number of units, be it 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. So herein in this case, contribution per unit will be the decisive factor. So these points are the key. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your query. Further, I request you guys to copy this explanation. This part is, I think, not there in the material. Let me check. So I request you guys to please copy this part, especially sales value and sales quantity. Examiner has asked question on sales value and quantity also. So please do copy. Anyone else having any doubts or queries in this part can please post your queries. Okay, fine. So we are done with the key factor now. Let's take a break of 15 minutes. We'll be back after 15 minutes with the remaining part wherein we'll be discussing few questions. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. Welcome back, my friends. So we are done with the key factor. Now let's proceed further with illustration number 11 of study material. Sorry. Let's proceed further with illustration number 11 of study material. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'm discussing illustration number 11. So let's start with illustration number 11. The page number is 2.37. MK Limited manufacture and sell a single product X whose selling price is 40 per unit and the variable cost is 16 per unit. The first question what they are asking is that if the fixed cost for the year is 4,80,000 and the annual sales are 60% and the annual sales are at 60% margin of safety, calculate the rate of net return on sales assuming income tax level is 40%. So let's start with the first question first. Illustration number 11. My selling price is 40 rupees. My variable cost is 16 rupees. Therefore, my contribution will be 24 rupees. So the PV ratio will be the PV ratio is 60%. Now, the fixed cost is 4,80,000. So we can easily calculate the break-even sales also. To calculate the total sales, we need to calculate the break-even sales. So my fixed cost is 4,80,000. Therefore, my break-even sales will be 8 lakh. Further in the question, it is given that the annual sales are at 60% margin of safety. The annual sales are at 60% margin of safety. It means what? The break-even sales is 40% of the total sales. Since annual sales are at 60% margin of safety, therefore, break-even sales is 40% of total sales. Therefore, total sales will be 8 lakh divided by 40%. So this will be 20 lakh rupees. Or we can say, since 40 is the selling price, so we can say it is 50,000 units. Now let's calculate the net return. So we have got the sales, that is 20 lakh rupees. Since my PV ratio is 60%, therefore my contribution will be 12 lakh. Further, my fixed cost is given, that is 4,80,000. So my profit will be how much? 7,20,000. Further in the question, it is given that you are required to calculate the net return on sales assuming income tax is 40%. So it means of this profit, 40% is my income tax. That is 2,88,000. So my net profit will be how much? 4,32,000. So we can say the question is asking us to calculate the question is asking us to calculate the net return on sales. So return on sales will be how much? 4,32,000 divided by 20 lakh. That is 21.6%. If you guys have any doubts or queries in this part, you guys can please post your queries. I'm done with the first part of the question, illustration number 11. So I repeat again, guys, very simple. Here in the selling price is given, that is 40. Variable cost is given, that is 16. Therefore, my contribution will be 24. I have first calculated the PV ratio, that is 24 divided by 40 into 100, that is 60%. Now I need to calculate this total sales. So my fixed cost is available, that is 4,80,000. So we will first calculate the break-even sales, that is fixed cost divided by PV ratio, that is 4,80,000 divided by 60%, we will get 8 lakh rupees. Now, since annual sales are at 60% of margin of safety, therefore break-even sales will be 40% of the total sales. So we have got 8 lakh rupees as the break-even sales. It is 40% of the total sales. Therefore, the total sales will be 20 lakh rupees. And since each unit is sold at the rate 40, so therefore we can say it is 50,000 units also. Now, since we are done with the calculation of sales, so we can easily calculate variable cost, contribution, fixed cost, and profit. Now, after calculating profit, it is given in the question that the income tax is 40%. It means income tax is 40% of what? The income, that is our profit. So of this 7,20,000, we need to pay 2,88,000 to the government. So we are left out with only 4,32,000 profit. So they are asking us to calculate the rate of return on sales. So 4,32,000, the net profit divided by total sales, that is 20 lakh into 100. So this is how we will get the rate of return on sales. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Now let's proceed further with the next part. For the next year, it is proposed to add another product Y whose selling price will be 40 per unit and the variable cost will be 10 per unit. Further, the total fixed costs are estimated to be 6,66,600 and the sales mix ratio is given. So this point is the key, where in the first decision making problem what we discussed was about the key factor, and the second decision making problem here comes is what if in case sales mix is given. So here in the sales mix is given, that is in the ratio of 7:3. Determine at what level of sales next year would MK Limited be will get break even. Given separately for both X and Y, the break even sales in rupees and units. So now the question is, herein the company want to add one more product, that is product Y, whose selling price is given, variable cost is given. Further, it is given that the sales mix will be in the ratio of 7:3. If we are selling 7 units of X, then we will be selling 3 units of Y. Further, they have given the overall fixed cost of the company, that is 6,66,000. Now, the company is asking you guys to calculate the break-even sales in units and in rupees of individual product X and Y. So let's start. Now, since there are two products X and Y, selling price is given of X and Y. The X selling price was 40. Variable cost was 16. And contribution was 24. Similarly, for Y, it is given that is the selling price will be 50. Variable cost will be 10 and contribution will be 40. Further, the sales mix is given, that is 7:3. Further, the fixed cost is also given, 6,66,600. Now, herein दो प्रोडक्ट्स है X and Y, but fixed cost आपको एक साथ दी हुई है. You have, I mean, in question the fixed cost, that is combined fixed cost is given. Now the question is how to calculate individual break-even sales. So for this, I suggest you guys to first calculate the combined break-even sales. To calculate combined break-even sales, you need PV ratio also. So we have to first calculate the combined PV ratio. So herein we will first calculate the combined PV ratio. We have to first calculate the combined PV ratio. That is, my contribution is 24 for product X and the weightage is 7. So multiplied by 7. For product Y, my contribution is 40 and the weightage is 3. Whole divided by my selling price is 40 and the weightage is 7. Plus my selling price is 50 and the weightage is 3 into 100. So contribution into weight plus contribution into weight divided by selling price into weight plus selling price into weight. This is how we will calculate the combined PV ratio. So here in my combined PV ratio will be so this will be 288 . 430 into 100. So this will be 66.977. 66.977. So now we have calculated the combined PV ratio. We can calculate the combined break-even sales. So this will be fixed cost. My total fixed cost, that is 6,66,600 divided by 66.977. So this will be 9,95,267. 9,95,267. This is my combined break-even sales. If we want to distribute in X and Y, it should be in the ratio of sales. Very important. If we want to distribute to X and Y, it should be in the distribution. It should be in the ratio of sales. So when talking about sales ratio, it is 40 into 7, that is 280, is to 50 into 3, that is 150. So we will get the break-even sales in rupees for X and Y. So this will be 648,080 rupees. $347,187. Or we can say if we divide it by selling price, we will get the number of units also. If we divide these 648,080 is the total sales and the selling price is 40. So we will get the units, and similarly for 347,187, if the selling price is 50, we'll get the number of units, that is 6,943 units. This is how the break-even sales will be calculated. So I repeat again, guys, as and when you will find a question on sales mix, as and when you guys find a question on sales mix, first point is that calculate the combined PV ratio. How to calculate the combined PV ratio? 24 is the contribution into the weight. Contribution into weight plus contribution into weight, whole divided by selling price into weight plus selling price into weight. So the total weightage contribution divided by weighted selling price into 100, we will get the combined PV ratio. Once the combined PV ratio is calculated, we will calculate the combined break-even sales, that is 6,66,000. The combined, the fixed cost divided by combined PV ratio, we will get the combined break-even sales. So after calculating the combined break-even sales, again it will be distributed in the weighted sales ratio, that is weighted selling price ratio, that is 40 into 7, 280 is to 50 into 3, 150. So this is how the break-even sales of individual product X and Y will be calculated. Further, we can directly calculate the number of units also by using weighted contribution method, but both the approaches are correct. You can follow any of the approach. If you guys have any doubts or queries in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Further, this part is important, so I request you guys to please copy this explanation at least. This part is the key. Again, I have presented the solution in some different way. So I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Waiting for your queries, guys. Just now only I finished, Mr. Mallu, how to calculate combined break-even sales. So very simple, fixed cost divided by combined PV ratio, we will get the combined break-even sales. Fixed cost divided by combined PV ratio, we will get the combined break-even sales. One more point I want to discuss. I request you guys to please open practical question number 9. It covers the concept of shutdown point. So I request you guys to please open question number 9, practical question number 9. So Mr. X has 2 lakh investment in his business firm. He want a 15% return on his money. So his expectation is 30,000 profit. From an analysis of the recent cost figures, he find that his variable cost of operating is 60% of the sales. It means my PV ratio will be 40% of the sales. His fixed costs are 80,000 per year. Show computation to answer the following question. What sales volume must be obtained to break even sales? The first point is we have to calculate the break even sales. So let's start with practical question number 9. It's page number 14.54. Practical question number 9, page number 14.54. So herein, sales less variable cost is what my contribution less fixed cost is my profit. When talking about the profit, it is given in the question itself that he want a return of 15% on investment. Anyways, we'll discuss this part later. Herein, in this question, we are required to calculate the break-even sales. So, when talking about break-even sales, it is fixed cost divided by PV ratio. So, herein my fixed cost is 80,000 and my PV ratio is, see, it is given that the variable cost of operating is 60% of the sales. It means PV ratio will be 40%. So this will be 2 lakh rupees is my break-even sales. So this is the first answer wherein my break-even sales will be 2 lakh rupees. Now the next question is, what sales volume must be obtained to get 15% return on investment? So herein, we want 15% return on investment. So my desired profit will be how much? 2 lakh is my investment. So into 15%, that is 30,000 is my desired profit. My desired profit is 30,000. So my desired sales will be how much? Will be fixed cost plus my desired profit divided by my PV ratio. So this is how we will get our desired sales. That is 30,000 is my desired profit plus 80,000 is my fixed cost divided by my PV ratio, that is 40%. So this will be my desired sales, 2,75,000. If we make a sales of 2,75,000, we'll get our desired profit of rupees 30,000. Now the last part, very important part, Mr. X estimates that even if he closed the door of his business, he would incur 25,000 as expense in per year. At what sales would be better off by locking his business? Now herein, it is given in the question that if the company shut down the business, if Mr. X shut down the business also, his cost will be 25,000. I repeat again, his shutdown cost will be 25,000. Whether he continue to run the business or whether he discontinue to run the business, his cost that is going to incur is 25,000. मतलब चाहे business बंद भी कर दे तो भी 25,000 का तो cost लगेगा ही. So if we are continuing with the business and if we are able to recover the balance cost, then at least we should continue with the business. So herein, the shutdown cost is given. Now see, my current fixed cost is how much? 80,000. My current fixed cost is 80,000. Now, if we shut down the business also, my fixed cost will be 25,000. So if we continue with the business and if we are able to recover how much? 80,000 minus 25,000. Then we should better carry on the business. I have discussed this concept in detail in one of my previous sessions with one or two different questions. So my point is, अगर हम business चालू रख के 55,000 अगर recover कर ले, so better it is we should continue with the business. Or alternatively we can say, see, we are indifferent, चालू रखे बंद रखे हमारा 25,000 तो लॉस होने वाला ही है. So if our desired loss is 25,000, it means if we earn 55,000 contribution, at least we should continue with the business. So if we are able to recover 55,000, then we should better continue with the business. So how to recover 55,000? 55,000 is my desired contribution divided by my PV ratio, that is 40%. So 1,37,500 is the sales where we are indifferent. 1,37,500 is the sales where we are indifferent. बिजनेस चालू रखो या बंद रखो, हमें कोई भी फायदा या नुकसान नहीं होने वाला है. वी आर इनडिफरेंट. अल्टरनेटिवली अगर एकदम सिंपल लैंग्वेज में बताऊं तो सी, इवन इफ वी शट डाउन द बिजनेस 25,000 तो लॉस होना ही है. सो 25,000 इज माय डिजायर्ड लॉस. My fixed cost is 80,000. It means my desired contribution should be how much? 55,000. It means what? If we are earning 55,000, बिजनेस बंद करो या चालू रखो, उससे कोई भी फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. बिकॉज बंद भी रखेंगे बिजनेस तो देयर इज अ लॉस ऑफ 25,000. तो बेटर अगर चालू रख के भी बिजनेस, चालू रख के अगर बिजनेस में लॉस हो रहा है 25,000 तक का, तो इट मींस वी आर इनडिफरेंट. That is, we can either shut down the business also or we can continue with the business also. And this 55,000 is what? See, this is my desired profit. We can say in simple language, my fixed cost, this is my desired contribution. This contribution is 40% of sales. So how much will be my sales? 137,500. So it means at 1,37,500 sales, we will get a loss of 25,000. So if we continue with the business also, we will get a loss of 25,000. Even if we shut down the business also, we will suffer a loss of 25,000. So at 1,37,500, we are indifferent. That is, business चालू रखो या बंद रखो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. So when talking about the formula that is given for shutdown point, this is called as shutdown point, wherein total fixed cost minus shutdown cost, or we can say unavoidable fixed cost. The cost that we can't avoid. Herein 25,000 was the unavoidable fixed cost or shutdown cost divided by my PV ratio. So 80,000 minus shutdown cost or unavoidable fixed cost divided by my PV ratio. So this is the concept behind shutdown point. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Further, I request you guys to copy this explanation. I request you guys to copy this explanation. Sujay Manna says, I have not covered overheads in this batch. I won't be able to cover this question, but yes, if the time permits in the query session, I'll try to cover this question separately. Anyone else having any doubts or queries? एडमिन सर आप सबको अनम्यूट कर दीजिए ना. Yes, Kiran, Sayanto, Mallu, any doubts? Preeti, any doubts?
No, sir, all clear.
Okay. Sayanto, Kiran, Mallu.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, Kiran. Tell me, dear.
सर मार्जिनल कॉस्टिंग तो क्लियर है सर, वो आरटीपी का क्वेश्चन का मेल लिखा था मैंने, बट कुछ आपके पास
क्या कह
पहुंचा
रहे हैं?
कि नहीं?
प्लीज थोड़ा आप जोर से बोलेंगे प्लीज.
सर आरटीपी के क्वेश्चन का मैंने मेल लिखा था, पर आपके
Okay.
पास पहुंचा कि नहीं मालूम नहीं मुझे.
I need to check. Don't worry. I'll just check out and will update you. वो जो आपने
ओके.
स्टैंडर्ड कॉस्टिंग का बोला है वही ना?
जी जी सर, आरटीपी का. यस.
Okay, don't worry. See, there is one session for queries. I'll cut. See, if the time permits, then I'll be covering in that query session, or else I'll write a mail separately to you. Don't worry.
ओके, थैंक यू सर.
Anything else? Any doubts or queries in marginal costing?
नहीं सर, ये तो बिल्कुल क्लियर है.
Okay. Sayanto and Mallu, any doubts? Okay, Mr. Mallu.
So for September attempt, RTP MTP will uploaded or not?
I need to check. You can check over the portal. I mean, or else, I mean, let me check if what you are saying. September
Attempt RTP MTP. It's only available for May attempt.
only available for.
May attempt.
Okay, let me check. I mean, you can check over the portal. They will provide you some information. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. So, sir, what does it mean by at what sales would be better locking off his business? Our practical question number 9. So, Sushil, when talking about the shutdown point, it is the point where we are indifferent. See, this is my shutdown point. It means where we are indifferent. That business चालू रखो या बंद रखो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. We are indifferent. I mean the profit or loss will be equal whether we are running the business or whether we shut down the business. That is what it means. That sir, what does it means by at what would be better off by locking his business up? I mean, don't know. So if the sales, see, this is the shutdown point. That is 1,37,500 is my shutdown point. So at this point, I am indifferent. At 137,500, I am making a loss of 25,000. And even if I shut down my business, also my loss will be 25,000. So at this point, I am indifferent. Now, see, if the sales goes less than 137,500, if my total sales, 1 second. So if my total sales is less than 137,500, we should shut down the business. And if the total sales is more than 137,500, better we should continue with the business. So this is the point where we are indifferent that chalu rakho business or band karo, whether we continue with the business or whether we shut down the business, we are indifferent. Anyone else with any doubts or queries? Okay, so let's discuss one more question. Illustration number 13 I'm discussing. So herein in illustration number 13, I'm discussing illustration number 13, page number 14.41. The profit for the year of RJ Limited works out to 12.5% of the capital employed. And the relevant figures are as under, wherein the sales figure is given, that is 5 lakh, direct material is given, that is 2,50,000, direct labor is given, that is 1 lakh, variable overheads are given, that is 40,000, the capital employed is given, that is 4 lakh. The new sales manager has joined the company recently, estimates for the next year a profit of about 23% of the capital employed, provided the provided the volume of sales is increased by 10% and simultaneously there is an increase in selling price by 4% and an overall cost reduction in all the elements by 2%. Find out by computing in detail the cost and the profit for the next year whether the proposal of sales manager can be adopted or not. So very simple, guys. There is a proposal by one of the sales manager. So let's analyze with the current situation and the proposal that is made by the sales manager. So let's start with first the existing data. When talking about the existing data, my sales is given, that is 5 lakh rupees. My material, labor and variable overheads are given. That is 2,50,000, 1 lakh and 40,000. We'll get the contribution. We'll get the contribution, that is 1,10,000. Now it is given. The fixed cost is not given. The fixed cost is not given. However, the details of the profit are given, that they are expecting a return of 12.5% of the capital employed. So herein my profit will be 5 lakh into 12.5%. Sorry, 1 second. My capital employed is 4 lakh. Sorry, it's not 5 lakh. So 4 lakh into 12.5%. So this will be 50,000. My profit will be 4 lakh into 12.5%. So this will be 50,000. Therefore, my fixed cost, my balancing figure will be 60,000. This is the current plan. Now, the proposed plan. Now, when talking about sales, that they are saying that, see, it is given that the company will be able to earn a profit of 23% provided that the volume of sales is increased by 10%. Further, the selling price is also increased by 4%. So herein, 5 lakh plus 4% at revised selling price plus 10%. So we will get the revised sales as 5,72,000. So when talking about the sales part, 5 lakh, sorry, 5 lakh plus 4% into 10% increase in volume. So into 110 divided by 100. This is the impact of price and this is the impact of quantity. So this will be 5,72,000. Similarly, for material also, it is given that an overall cost reduction by 2%. So my revised material cost will be 2,50,000 minus 2%. That is 2,45,000 into my effect of quantity, that is 10%. So this is how we will get 269,500. That is 2,50,000 minus 2% multiplied by, there is a reduction by same in the same way for labor also, 1 lakh minus 2%. So this will be 107800. For variable overheads also 40,000 minus 2% into 110. That is 43,120. So we have got the figure, that is 5,72,000 is the sales minus 269,500 minus 1,07,800 minus 43,120. We'll get the contribution of 151,580. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. Now further, if we reduce the, see my fixed cost is 60,000. If we reduce 60,000 by 2%, because the fixed cost remains same irrespective of production. So herein no impact will be given of the quantity change. Only the cost reduction scheme will be implemented on fixed cost. So accordingly, my revised fixed cost will be 60,000 minus 2%. That is 58,800. So my overall profit will be 92,780. This is by proposed. After the proposed changes, my revised profit will be 92,780. So let's calculate it, the return on sales. Sorry, the return on, they're asking about, you are required to whether the proposed or 12 point. So now we have to calculate the return on capital employed. So let's check whether it is 23% or not. So 92,780 divided by my capital employed is 4 lakh. My capital employed is 4 lakh into 100. So 23.195, I'm getting the return. So herein the question is asking that find out by computing in detail the cost and profit for the next year whether the proposal of sales manager can be adopted. Yes, the proposal of sales manager can be adopted because we are getting a return of approx 23% on capital employed. So this is all what about this question. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post your queries. Thank you so much, Preeti. Anyone else having any doubts? Yes, Mr. Sayanto, Mallu, Kiran, Unni Krishnan, any doubts? Sweetie, Kiran Shukla, Sujay, Sushil Kumar, Mr. Abdul, Mr. Sahu, any doubts, guys? I'm done with the explanation part. Whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post your queries. So guys, this is all what about marginal costing. The last two chapters, what I discussed, that is standard costing and marginal costing, are very, very important from examination point of view. Again, there are many formulas that are given in study material, but as I said, there are no formulas in cost accounting. Further, I have discussed the concepts only rather than, just simply discussing the formulas. So better it is try to memorize the concepts and try to apply the concept. Now, the practice is the key. The more you will practice, the better will be the concept. If you think that, okay, circle lecture sun liya, I will be able to apply the concepts practically, it's not possible. See, the standard costing and marginal costing, these two chapters have no limit. Examiner can ask you anything. So better it is try to practice and keep refreshing your concepts. Then only you will be able to solve the questions in exams. So the practice is the key. Wherever, whatever the questions you find, you just try to solve questions on standard costing and marginal costing. Because again, as I said, there is no limit. Examiner can ask anything. आप 100 questions करके जाएंगे, examiner can ask you 101st question. So there is no end of standard costing and marginal costing. So the best approach is keep revising your concept. Practice as many as questions possible in writing. There is no alternate of hard work. So now I'm done with marginal costing. Additional session for service costing is already allocated. I think mostly it will be on Friday. So my next class is on Friday on service costing. I'll be discussing more. In that session, I'll be discussing most of the practical questions relating to transportation industry, hotel industry, and few more service sector agencies. So in the meanwhile, if you guys have any queries relating to service costing, you can start posting your queries from 6:45. I'll take the questions accordingly. So till then, try to solve all the questions of standard costing and marginal costing from study material, past practice manual. If you are referring any other authors also, you can refer and try to solve as maximum as possible questions you can. So thank you so much for your time and patience and for active participation in the session. We'll be back on Friday with service costing, and there is one more session on doubts and queries. So that is, I think, on next Monday. So this is the way we'll approach in the coming session. So enjoy your day. Take care, guys. God bless you. Manish sir, I'm done with the session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.